Hey everyone, it's Ross, and if you look behind me you can see that the trees are bare. You can see the leaves have fallen. It's now almost Thanksgiving here, end of 2017. 2018 is going to start pretty soon, and it's getting cold. That's the point I'm trying to make. Here in Pennsylvania, this is a cold time of the year, and it's only going to get colder. So a lot of you have been asking me, and you know, most of the Northeast, the northern states of the United States have just been getting just as cold as I have, or even worse, for months now. If you're in Maine, you know, you've been getting colds. Your dormancy started in like October, even maybe in September. So, you know, there's a lot of people that have been asking me, Ross, what do I do, you know, for my trees? Because I don't know where to store them. I don't know how you're storing them, but I kind of want to get a feel for this. I did, however, put a video out last February. I gave you guys an update last February on my greenhouse, and I showed you guys how I'm storing them, but for whatever reason, a lot of people just didn't see that video, and I thought I'd put out a new one exclusively just for how I'm storing my trees. And you can see over here, you know, these are just maybe half of the trees that I have to store, and I've been mainly storing them in the greenhouse here. So let's take a trip over here. As you can see down here, I just planted some fig trees. Some I couldn't keep in containers. I just don't have enough room. So I planted them in the ground. This was a bed I decided to have, you know, lots of vegetables in for next year. I had 6 trees in here, and they really just don't, nothing really does well on this bed, so I'm hoping I can get some vegetables to do well. But back to the point of this video is that I've got all these trees in the greenhouse, and this is only a 6x8 space. You know, it's 6 feet this way horizontally and 8 feet back. The height of it is, I'm not exactly sure, I forget exactly because we've raised it. But you can see in here, I've just got tons and tons of trees now. And the main idea of this is that I'm trying to stack them as high as humanly possible to use as much vertical space. I have a heater. Very small space heater, really doesn't use a whole lot of electricity. And then what I'll end up doing is in the beginning of March, maybe even February, if I feel like it, I'm gonna wake all these trees up. Some of these trees are still green, you know, they're still leaves, but these are my tropical trees. But the rest of this, you know, like my figs and my pomegranates. My pomegranates, by the way, are beautiful now, and I really hope I can get some fruit next year off of them. But the figs in general, for the most part, are dormant. And, you know, in March, like I said, in February, like I said, I'm going to wake these guys up, and they're going to, oh, look, the heater just kicked on. Once it drops below a certain degree of temperature, you know, it's at a very low setting right now, it kicks on. And I can, you know, fully blast this heater in March about, and it can get to about 100 degrees in here, no problem. And then what will happen is, since it's so hot in here and the sun is, you know, pretty strong in here, because the sun usually in March and February, it kind of rises for the most part in the early morning over here, and it just really does well in this particular spot, really using the sun at that time of year to maximize the growth and the heat. Heat's really important for these fig trees and getting them to bolt. It's a term I like to use to get them to flower. The fig itself is an inverted flower, so you know. So back to the point of the video is just I really want to just show you guys how I'm doing this, and that's one way you can do it. I've done this. I've stored my trees in other ways. I put them in the sunroom. As you can see, that's the sunroom, and the sunroom is similar to a greenhouse, and it also has a heater in there that kicks on. And then the other thing I've done this year, because I don't really want to use the sunroom, I don't want to use, you know, a pretty nice room, I've been storing trees underneath the sunroom. And these are trees that I don't really care about too much. These are trees that are designated for rootstock. So I'm going to be grafting onto these trees, and they don't necessarily need that early start that happens in about March or February. Like I said, I'm going to turn the heater on. So these are all in here for that purpose. I can bring them out in May when things get warm in this, you know, this area of the country, and then they can start growing. I can start grafting onto them, and then everything will be great. So I hope you guys learn something, or just really understand, you know, how to store them. I guess you can store them in any way. Stacking them is a great way to do it. If you're worried about your fig trees and you're leaving them outside and you're worried that they might die, and they're in containers, the lowest a containered fig tree can get is about 20 degrees without damage. So if you're like me and you're kind of in a rush because you don't want the like lower than 20 degrees to hit, then hurry up and get your trees somewhere warm. But you don't really want them to drop below 20. And then in the wintertime, when they're dormant, you want them to stay dormant unless you have the ability to wake them up. Like I have in the sunroom, I have natural sunlight plus heat to really kickstart that growing process and that fruiting process. If you have them in the basement, which a lot of you guys probably have, or have, you know, the space for, you want to keep it cool in there. You want to keep it below 50. You don't want the temperature to fluctuate. You got a garage, same thing. You don't want the temperature to drop below 20, but you don't want it to go above 50. So keep it in that range until it's time for it to get warm outside. You bring them outside, you're all good to go. So that's the end of the video, guys. I hope you enjoyed this really just one through of the storing the fig trees. No editing. It's all I really got time for, so I hope you guys enjoyed it. See you guys next time.